Hey everybody, welcome to MuseThemes.com. My name is Ashton. Today we're looking at our new Category Hero Slider widget. Now this is a really neat and interactive hero design widget, meaning it uses a native Muse widget as its source, which is the slideshow widget, and that's for the desktop layout. It's got some alternate customization for the tablet and mobile sizes, but we're going to get into that shortly. What we can see here in our live demo is that it's serving as a kind of category display, allowing for multiple calls to action within one single hero. Multiple categories can be used, and it has some really interactive animations built right into it, as we can see here as I hover my mouse over the various categories. Now this widget definitely will take up some space on your canvas, so it's a great solution for sites that do have the room for it. We do have separate layouts designed for this widget that you'll have access to with the widget download. What you're seeing here is the desktop layout, but we also have a tablet and mobile layout that has some varying functionality. Firstly, because of the large horizontal display nature of this design, we really don't have a lot of space to do this sort of thing on the portrait-style aspect ratios of the smaller devices. Also, too, the interactions we see here are prompted by a mouse hover, which of course doesn't work with a touchscreen device. So you're welcome to use all versions of this that come with it, or it could work just as well as a desktop-only feature if you want. Let's switch over to Muse. Right now I'm working with our newly released mag theme, and we're sitting right here on our home page. Now what I want to do is use our widget to remove this newsletter opening here and put our widget in to serve as a really nice impactful hero intro to the site. So I'm going to select these newsletter elements and remove them. I'm also going to grab this recent articles label and use our vertical move tool here to slide everything down and out of the way, because again, this widget does require some real estate. Okay, now let's jump over to our library. And you're going to find the Category Hero widget under Sliders in your library, not under Toolbox where you might be used to. And once we expand the drop-down, we can see those two separate layouts that I mentioned. Now we're going to start with Desktop. Now it's important to note, before I drag out the widget, that I'm currently sitting on my desktop breakpoint sized at 1200 pixels. This widget needs to be dropped into the correct breakpoint sizes for its pre-styling to match up properly, so make sure whether you're using a new site or an existing one that you drop the desktop version on a 1200 breakpoint. So we'll go ahead and drag this out onto the canvas, and before I drop it, we're going to make sure that we place it just beneath those social media icons in the header, and we're going to make sure to bring it all the way over to the very far left edge of the page, just like that. If you don't drop it on the very left edge, things can become misaligned, so make sure to give extra care to that step. So a couple things we want to check out to make sure the widget features look good. First, we can see here that our fonts and assets, like our magnifying glass graphic, are added in nicely. If anything's missing, be sure to download any fonts needed from the font downloader, and to sync up any missing assets from the Assets panel. I'm also going to select the large text box on the far left that houses our men's fall collection text. And we're going to open up the States menu. We'll select the active state. We'll expand Transitions. And we want to make sure that the transition duration for the active state is set to 0.5. This allows for the fade effect on the text to properly sync up with the magnifying glass slide animation. And you're going to want to do this for all three text boxes. Now on that topic of the magnifying glass sprite animation, this is a pre-styled feature that comes with the widget for the desktop layout. Now some of you may want to make changes to the graphic itself, which for the tablet and mobile format it's as easy as changing an image. But for the desktop layout it's a bit more complex and will require a bit of Photoshop or Illustrator skills. Really quick, I'm going to pull up my Finder window and navigate to the Assets folder that comes with the widget. And I'm going to quickly look at the mag sprite PNG image that's included within. And as we can see, it's one wide PNG image canvas with both versions of the magnifying glass placed here. Now this is the file that you're going to want to revise if you want to change the graphic and maintain the exact same animation. It's really important that you not change the placement of the graphics within this image or the size of the image as a whole. The animation that's styled inside the widget is basically revealing either one side of the image or another based on what state it's in. And if any of this sizing or placement is changed, it won't align or behave properly. So just make sure to adhere to this formatting if you're going to swap out the graphic. Now let's talk about the actual hero images displaying behind our buttons. Now if you've worked at all with our Sunder Gallery widget, this process will probably be familiar to you. What's happening here is we have 3 trigger boxes all sitting right next to each other, extending to both ends of the page. And underneath that, we have our larger single target window that's displaying the entire image. And there's a different target image for each trigger that's selected. So to change the target image, you can simply click on any trigger to activate it. And then all you have to do is select the target window behind to change the image fill. The only issue is the triggers are covering the target, so you won't be able to select it unless you move something out of the way. So I'm going to click to select our very first trigger, and I'm just going to drag it down a few pixels to move it out of the way temporarily. And what that does is allow me to select the target window behind it, where I can then visit my fill menu and swap out the image. And from this place, I can repeat this process without moving anything. I can just click to my second trigger, which of course changes the image. And then we can select our target once again, change the image, and then finally again with kids. Once you're done changing images, all you have to do is grab your first trigger again and carefully slide it back up into place. And lastly here, text changes can be easily done. Just click a few more times until you have the individual text box selected within each trigger, and you can customize the text like normal. And real quick, before we close out, I want to cover how to do that tablet and mobile layout as well, since there are a few variances to note here. I'm going to jump down to my 960 breakpoint, and you'll actually notice as I do that our widget is not visible here, even though I didn't change any of the breakpoint settings. And that's because the desktop layout of the widget is already set up to not be visible on any other breakpoints except for the 1200. It's already going to be hidden from the others when you place it. Now the tablet and mobile, on the other hand, works a little bit differently. All you have to do is drop the tablet and mobile layout on your 960 breakpoint, and it will automatically be preset for all smaller breakpoints from there down. So let me create a little bit more space here, because we are going to need it. And just like before, let's go into our library, and we'll drag out the tablet and mobile version, placing it just under our header and all the way to the far left edge. Perfect. And now that we have that one placed, I can click to any of my smaller breakpoints, and we can see that it's already placed and resized accordingly. However, just make sure that you make room for it on each breakpoint before you do that. I didn't actually do that here, as you can see from some of the content that's bleeding through. But if you prepare each breakpoint with space before you place the widget, it'll save you some hassle. So back to 960. As you can see, the layout here is different. There's no animated sprites, and the text is just placed inside of state buttons. But the customization is similar. You can simply select any of the images and visit your fill menu to make changes. We also have these rectangles here with a 50% opacity setting, which is giving us this lighter partition here. And then you can make text changes just as before by clicking a couple times into the text box and revising accordingly. So let's give this bad boy a preview. And when we do, we're going to be looking at our desktop version when it pops up. And there we go. Everything's looking and functioning beautifully. So that's our category hero slider widget. Have some fun with this one, and as always, don't hesitate to reach out to us in support if any issues arise. Take care.